Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed's Avatar Rewatch video. This one's going to be for Book 3 Fire, Episode 18, Sozin's Comet, Part 1, The Phoenix King. First part of the finale, animated by JM Animation, and I think definitely the weakest because it is mostly set up. This is the one where it doesn't have a lot of the big moments that you think of when you think of the finale. Not that it's bad or just lacking in any notable scenes. It's just that it very much feels like a part one, whereas all other parts of the finale have their moments of the battles getting started, the big kind of character reveal moments, and which characters are going to be involved. That's big, and then using stuff they've set up from this episode as well. But yeah, there are some good things to discuss, so we'll get straight into them. I suppose first of all would be the big reveal here for Zuko and the group not telling Zuko that they had actually planned to wait to, go after Ozai until after the comet. And this is an interesting reveal because I think the whole fandom has always, to a degree, kind of felt like that's a weird decision for the group to make. Did they really not think anything would happen during the comet if they didn't attack? What did they honestly think was going to happen during the comet? If they know what happened during the previous comet, of course Ozai was going to do something with this comet to fully finish things. I suppose from their perspective, they do kind of sort of reveal that, from our perspective, the war is basically over. Ba Sing Se has fallen. There's nowhere else left to capture for the most part. So, what is the comet going to be used for if Ba Sing Se has already been taken? I suppose, in that sense, it's a bit more understandable of, yeah, they probably might not have, expected just, we'll fully eliminate the Earth Kingdom, kind of like the Air Nomads, by just burning their Earth to the ground, the Burning Earth plan. And I love how this is when they use Zuko to reveal what happened at the war meeting from Nightmares and Daydreams. It's really cool to kind of go in there and see basically Zuko, when Ozai asks for Zuko's opinion on the matter. I like that it really shows his understanding of the people of the Earth Kingdom from all the time he spent with them, living in Ba Sing Se, and traveling throughout book one, that he acknowledges, book two I mean, he acknowledges the positive traits about them, and definitely you can get the sense of his uncle's teachings of this is kind of the core that represents the people of the Earth Kingdom. They're strong, they survive no matter what. And Ozai uses that, if that's their strength, then we'll eliminate what kind of causes that strength. We'll make them unable to survive on their Earth by burning their Earth to the ground. And of course it's Azula who kind of really brings up that idea of just burn to the ground. And Ozai really puts it into an actual plan of we'll use the warships and rain fire from above and just destroy the Earth Kingdom like that. It is, from his perspective, of course, it tactically seems like a good plan to just completely eliminate the Earth Kingdom as a threat. But at the same time, if he wants to rule over the whole world, he basically immediately goes into, what are you going to do with the fact that you've just burned an entire landmass to the ground and it's now gone? But I like that they kind of do a decent job here to explain the whole idea of okay, so what Ozai's going to do is basically mark complete victory in the war by declaring himself, basically giving himself a title that is the ruler of the world, and he's going to call it the Phoenix King. And because of that, he also feels like he needs someone ruling the Fire Nation separately than the whole world while he's doing the big picture stuff. So he gives Azula the title of Fire Lord basically here. And it's obviously towards the end of the episode that happens, but I like that, again, you kind of have this moment of kind of a less composed Azula. She wants the Palanquin to hurry up. She's a little late arriving to the scene. And then the second something is changed, it's just a simple change of plan, there's nothing really for her to panic about. And all of a sudden she's kind of having these doubts of like, oh, is my father betraying me now? Is he abandoning me like he abandoned Zuko? And she's beginning to see this idea of like betrayal, that she's not in control as she used to be. And she's suddenly doubting everything. And as we see, of course, in the coming episodes, she begins to see any slight issue as like, this person's going to betray me, I need to get them out before something goes wrong. And she ends up, of course, isolating everything. And in a way, yes, it's Azula herself that like loses her side of the final battle. But it's also Ozai, in giving her this position and giving her this important role back in the Fire Nation, that loses them everything as well on this side. Because it's his lack of, care for his daughter, basically, here. Not being able to see that she is noticeably different in terms of mentally where she is right now than she is usually. The fact that he doesn't see that and can't see that there's a problem, speaks to, he just expects her to be the person that she's been in the past, and that person would win me the war. This person now, he can't see that she's different now, and that there is a slight loss of an edge that she used to have. So that's, of course, Ozai kind of missing the kind of fatherly touch that like you'd almost expect him to have, but that we obviously have learned that he doesn't really have. And even though he clearly favors Azula, it still doesn't feel like it's like too familial as such between the two of them. It definitely kind of felt like, commander and then commander's like favorite subordinate kind of type thing, more so than father and daughter here. So that's just an interesting kind of view on their relationship at this point, that just to see it these kind of fractures starting to come into play for Azula. On the other side, of course, the reveal about, like, as I said, Zuko revealing that, you kind of can't wait until after the comet. It has to be, before or during the comet, or all of this stuff is going to go wrong. And, it serves the point of obviously forcing the group to very quickly have to form a plan of attack and just jump into action with like a 2 days notice. And serves for Aang to be like, okay, Zuko's just posed this really, horrible question to me of like, what am I going to do when I face Ozai? It's in 2 days. What am I meant to do? And he's kind of like, I like how to Zuko he kind of acknowledges that, like, I want extra time to master my firebending, and I need to work on my earthbending. Wait, I have to go into the final battle like this soon. It's interesting, and they immediately kind of have to start their training, but obviously before that they had the beach party, and it was just interesting to see Zuko get more and more frustrated at the fact that, like, why am I the only one taking this seriously? And it just turns out that it was a lack of communication. The others had been talking and had made this decision up beforehand, and then he, with that key piece of information, I suppose must have like just assumed that like there's no way they're going to wait until after the comet. They had to know something's going to be done with the person that's in charge. But I've already talked about that. The big thing, of course, is Aang going missing, and the nature of, I suppose, what exactly happens here. We obviously get the reveal in the next episode that it is a line turtle, and I'll discuss what the line turtle says here. So in this case, I'm just going to discuss the fact of, like, here's this unique idea of a line turtle is able to kind of reach out and, in a way, entrance someone towards it, and kind of take control over someone in a way. That this is this really unique thing that happens here with this line turtle of, like, Aang is in this kind of daze. It's like a spell has been put on him as he walks out, swims out to the line turtle, and wakes up there as if he doesn't know what's happened. Is this some other power of the line turtle that we don't know about? But bringing in the stuff from Korra that we learned about the line turtles, it's really interesting. It makes this like sudden one line turtle reveal at the end of ATLA all the more interesting, because we know that the line turtles were previously like the protectors of humanity, basically. That it was the era of the line turtles as they watched over humans and protected them from the spirits. And they did that up until the Avatar came into being, and then they left. They kind of seemingly left the human world, left bending in the world, and they turn things over to the Avatar to basically take up the same role of being that kind of protector of balance in the world. But it speaks, this appearance here, to the fact that they never, I suppose they is a kind of hard one in that we don't know the details of where exactly they went. Did they actually go to somewhere, or did they go to the spirit world, or did they just hide out because they have like abilities that allow them to hide? There is that weird piece of information that like is it can be taken as canon, but I think it's one of those ones that a lot of people doubt. It's like over the years, like lion turtles were hunted to near extinction, which I guess that seems like a thing some writer wrote, like for like a really minor thing without really putting much thought into it. Like, oh, the reason there's only one lion turtle is because they were hunted, and then you kind of later on through Korra get the full explanation of like this is how important lion turtles are, and then are kind of like, yeah, kind of the idea of hunting lion turtles makes very little sense. So it kind of feels like one just kind of came out of hiding here to assist in the fate of the world. Like the lion turtle in a way was able to sense that the fate of the world kind of would be decided based on like Aang's decisions, and that he needed to hear some things before going into that battle to be in a position where he could actually win things for the good side, basically. And it speaks again to the fact that this is the lion turtles coming back in to assist in the balance, helping with the balance of the world, assisting the Avatar here. And then we know, like, it's not a like Deus Ex Machina, because it's obviously been set up in the show. Like the library episode, we saw Aang see a scroll that has a picture of like an avatar or a human basically talking to a lion turtle from the past. But it's clearly at a point, I think, when it's post like era of the Avatar, and there's a lion turtle back in play. So I think it's one of those ones where they have set up this idea that there is a connection between like humans and lion turtles before this moment. And then Korra, I suppose, makes it even more clearer, but still it is this kind of new thing that's happened here of like, we know what happens with the lion turtle, and that it basically grants Aang the ability of energy bending and the ability to take bending away as a more humane way of dealing with kind of like bending kind of evil characters. And it also basically served the role of kind of giving Aang this kind of out, while also kind of presenting him with this spiritual, like, amazing power that is just the power, which kind of in a way sets up book one of Korra and the villain. But yeah, the power of what this lion turtle is able to do with Aang here, I think is just, it's an interesting one to think about, that just lion turtles seem to have this kind of mystical ability to draw people out to them. And in a way, it feels like how quick they move as well is a weird one, in that it just appears out of nowhere, and then in a way disappears out of nowhere. Like, even if it like was floating across the water and like actually had to come in from somewhere and then leave from somewhere, there's way too much, I think, travel time, that there had to be to some degree this idea of like, either they're able to just completely mask their presence, which seems to be the case based on what they do with June and Nyla in the next episode, that either the scent of the lion turtle just masks Aang, which I believe is the canon explanation from like the Avatar extras, or else, I suppose, with the importance of the lion turtles much more in context now, it is just this ability that lion turtles have, where if they can mask their own presence to the world and only be visible when they want to be visible, that they can literally do the same with people, that they just remove them, rather than just like, oh, if the lion turtle had the scent, if Nyla had the scent of a lion turtle, it could track down that lion turtle, but the lion turtle's scent overpowers Aang's because it's so much bigger. I kind of like the idea that it is more of just this kind of spirit, kind like lion turtles just have the ability to like kind of cloak their presence in a way, visually, smell and so on. But again, that's where we need a bit more explanation on them. And where did the lion turtles go after they left the world? Were they just hidden around, like doing their own thing, but hidden from everyone else? Or did they go back to the spirit world? And it begs sort of questions like, where did they come from? why do they have this seeming investment in the fate of humans and so on? Those sort of questions I think are super interesting with the Line Turtles. Absolutely, as I've discussed many times before in the past, Line Turtles, one of the most interesting topics in all of Avatar. But we'll move on. There'll be more time in the next 3 episode reviews to discuss the Line Turtles. The result after this is basically that they can't find Aang. They more or less figure out it has to be some sort of spiritual thing that's happened with him. That, they initially kind of dismissed that because, wait, if it was spiritual, his body would be here. But I think in their heads they more or less have to settle that it's some sort of a, Avatar thing that we might not understand, and they just have to hope that he'll come back when he's needed. And from there they basically just settle on the fact that, okay, we'll still try to find him before we actually have to commit to just going for the invasion. And they turn to Zuko immediately because he's the one with experience tracking down Aang, the Avatar. And immediately he goes for June. And we obviously have that scene right at the end where they basically find her and we're on our way. That this is immediately where they're going to go next. And it seems very logical that they have something. They have Aang's staff, so they have something with a smell on it. And the way Zuko explains it is that Nyla can basically smell that smell from across the world. So it does create that unique dynamic of if Aang's on the Line Turtle, that means he's not part of the world. Because she even in the next episode kind of says that if he was dead, we'd even be able to sense him. But he's just not, he doesn't exist, is what she says. So that's a really interesting one, which again speaks to the whole, I think it is some sort of a unique ability of the Line Turtles to just completely remove themselves in a way from being able to be sensed at all by anyone, which might explain to some degree why they were so effective at keeping humans safe from spirits, and that if they could just mask their presence like that, they could make themselves invisible to most spirits or something like that, but that's just speculation. But yeah, the result is that Aang is separate away from things on this thing, this floating island that isn't yet revealed to be a Line Turtle. The group is looking for Aang and seemingly has the way to find him, and we're just kind of set up in at that point of okay, Ozai's kind of on the verge of launching his big attack. Azula's left in charge of the Fire Nation, so it kind of sets up 2 battlefields of Azula will be the person at the Fire Nation. Ozai's going to be over the Earth Kingdom heading towards Ba Sing Se. And that means Aang is going to have to be in the Earth Kingdom. And then, we don't really know what's going to happen yet. Because obviously they don't commit to the idea of Zuko's going to try and, take the position of Fire Lord by defeating Azula once and for all. That doesn't come into play until the next episode. As it is right now, they kind of don't have a plan of attack. They did some training for okay, we need to make sure that we work well as a team and can fight well, but the plan seemingly is that if at all possible, it'd be all of Team Avatar versus Ozai, with Aang being the one who, once they get into a position, will deal any final blow that is required. And I assume they must have some countermeasure for the fact that yeah, Azula will probably come into play at some point, so, Zuko and someone else will fight her while the rest of them deal with Ozai. But that's more or less where we're at. There are other nice moments of Toph once again wanting her field trip, so she goes off with Zuko when they're searching for Aang, and it again goes wrong. She tries to make this connection with Zuko or bring up her past, but he's just kind of more laser focused on the fact that the fate of the world's coming up. We can deal with Zuko field trip stuff later on, but it created a fun little dynamic there. Earlier on in the episode, the idea that Katara brings out the kind of picture, she thinks it's baby Zuko, but it's actually baby Ozai, and it's just this for Aang, this probably the worst thing he could have seen, just this complete humanization of Ozai, that okay, the evil character was a baby once, and I have to kill this guy. It's this kind of crazy thing, and I suppose the argument that they have about it is interesting as well, because they kind of say that like we understand what you're doing, but at the same time, like Zuko and especially Sokka in this episode are both quite like harsh about like, no, when the time comes you have to do it, you have to kill him. Zuko obviously brought up the question, and then the Melon Lord scene, of course, which is really funny, but ends on quite a dark note of like Aang not even able to like fake kill Ozai, not able to defeat the Melon Lord, even though it's just a melon on a stick, and Sokka basically being like, "This is how you do it," and he just slices the thing off, and it's an interesting one because they censor it in a way, like they don't show you his sword slicing through the melon because of what it's meant to represent, so they even have to be like quite careful about like just okay the effect and the way we're going to shoot the scene in terms of like cutting away from it and showing Aang's reaction to the fact that something's happened. They don't show that it's meant to be this effectively like beheading type thing. So I thought that was actually a quite effective scene, even though it was really silly in a way. It's just like Sokka slicing a melon with a sword. But it obviously is Aang kind of being like wanting to find any option to kind of get past this because it goes so far against who and what he is, and in a way like the other characters bringing up the idea of like you're the Avatar, you'll be forgiven for it, like you're like the only person who could like get away with this sort of a killing in a way. That doesn't sit well with Aang either. He doesn't like the idea that he's kind of being given this like free pass to kill someone. That's almost worse than if it was just, you know, like you just have to kill this person because they're in charge of the other army. The fact that everyone is all like decided for him already that like you're the Avatar, so you have to be the one to kill the Fire Lord, and it has to be done, and everyone will be okay with it because you're the Avatar. So I liked how they approached, you know, the topic here, and you had Aang, you know, within his character, you know, initially seemingly run away from his problems, though in this case he was actually going to stick around. It was just that the Line Turtle drew him away. So it isn't Aang kind of running away at the end. It isn't his like airbender kind of thing coming in. This is outside assistance here. So that's my review for the first part of the finale. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode as well as what I had to say about it. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.